Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com, and these are the market positions for July the 13th, 2011. Now, our first position for tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on when you're looking at this, is the PowerShares Deutsche Bank Base Metals, the DBB. Now, what we're looking at with this is buying. We've come down, we've hit a couple of retracement points right on this vantage point, 18-day predicted moving average at 23.78. So a nice little pivot point here. Our predicted short-term difference, we're coming off a corrective move. We're starting to move back up. Our predicted MACD and predicted true strength indicator, both above the zero line. Everything looks pretty good there. Now, going into our individual crossovers here, bit of a concern on the short term, but I think that this move is starting to lose, the downward corrective move is starting to lose strength. You can see how the vantage point predicted moving average is beginning to turn back up in the short term, while the medium term and the long-term crossovers are both still showing an upward move. So that's a good sign. Now, everything else in here, what we also want to look at, we want to incorporate as many of the vantage point indicators that we can. So we're going to bring up the vantage point predicted high low break. Now you can see we've had a break of the vantage point predicted low every day but today. So you can see that we've actually had a bullish move here today. The 2 days before that, we've broken below the vantage point predicted low significantly in that wake of that equity sell-off. The base metals have kind of reacted to it. Aluminum, copper, zinc, some of the metals that invest in this fund have reacted, but I think that's going to be smoothed out here. So we're going to use this pullback to get into a buy position. Now again, we're going to go in and use the vantage point predicted high and predicted low to help fine tune our entry point. We know where our key pivot area is, down around that 23.78. We've closed at 23.96 above the vantage point major predicted or major support line, excuse me. So for tomorrow we have exactly that, 23.89 and 24.09. 23.89, we're going to use that as our entry point. Intraday traders, again, 24.09 is your first targets. Now if your equities can start to stabilize a little bit, we should see a little bit higher on this, probably around the 24.50, maybe a little bit higher in the days and weeks ahead. That's what we would be looking for. Now stops on this trade, I would have it down probably around the 22.80, 22.85 area, just to stay out of this short-term intraday volatility that we're experiencing with the Eurozone and a number of other issues. So that's our first position for tonight. Now our second position is going to be in the Forex market, specifically the US-Canadian pair. Now we are somewhat counter trend here on this position. We're going to experience further volatility, but there's a number of indicators from Vantage Point that are suggesting that crude oil is going to sell off, equities are going to continue to move lower. That's going to put indirect pressure, upward pressure on the US-Canadian pair. Now looking at things here, the predicted short and medium term predicted differences from Vantage Point have broke back up above the zero line. The predicted long-term difference is still below the zero line. Our predicted true strength indicator is beginning to make its move back to the upside, as is the predicted MACD. Now looking at our individual crossovers here, very important. Our short-term crossover has crossed back to the upside. However, it's starting to flatten out a bit again. Bit of a concern there. We have a fresh crossover on the medium-term crossover. That I like. Now the long-term crossover, obviously we have a bit of a gap to fill here. So there is still downward pressure and there is a bit of a concern. We did clear that 96.85 yesterday, the Vantage Point 18-day predicted moving average. We've subsequently closed below that, but that was based on some economic data out of Canada. That was just kind of noise. That wasn't based around a better looking commodity picture like crude oil and equities. It was more just noise in the housing market. So with that said, again, we want to look at the predicted high-low break, because again that can show us some, give us a signal as to some of the things that are happening. We can see this long candle coming all the way up, breaking through the Vantage Point predicted high 3 days in a row. So that still has me net bullish on this, even though we're somewhat counter trend on these longs. I believe we're continuing to play a range on the US-Canadian pair between 95.50 and the 99 level. So we may get another push lower, but again, we're going to use that as a buying opportunity. So with that said, let's go into the daily report from Vantage Point and again see if we can fine tune this entry point. Now, Vantage Point is a discretionary program. Going short is with the trend. Certainly people could think about that. Myself, 96.10 I believe is a better buy. Our neural index is in agreement with the short and medium term crossovers. It's telling us that it's going to come down a little bit, and then we're going to push back into the 97.21 area. So again, when it pulls back toward the 96.10 area, we're going to use that to get into long positions. Our first target, we have a couple of targets up there. The 96.90 area is still a reasonable area to exit that trade. We have the Vantage Point 18-day predicted moving average sitting right there. That's a decent exit point. Your more aggressive traders, they can hold out for 97.21 or in the days and weeks ahead, potentially back into that 98 level. We'll see. We'll have to see how the equity and the commodity markets play out, but I have a good feeling that we probably will move back into that 98 level on the US CAD in the weeks ahead. So with that said, these are the market positions for July the 13th, 2011. And again, my name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com.